When it comes to Japan, in addition to its outstanding achievements in science, technology, and culture, the adult film industry and the red light business are also famous. Despite strong development and legal protection, people in this industry still cannot avoid scandals and tragedies. Today, let's explore with Crime Documentary Files two heartbreaking cases involving two girls in the red light district. Although 22 years apart, both ended in tragic tragedy. So what is that tragedy? Let's explore the two cases with Crime Documentary Files today. The first case happened on an autumn night in 2002. At 8:55 p.m. on October 12th, on a road along the Nakagawa River in the suburbs of Iwata City, Nakano Prefecture, Japan, a Honda Odyssey suddenly caught fire. People who discovered the incident immediately reported it to the police. Upon receiving the news, the local fire brigade quickly arrived at the scene to control the fire. At first, everyone thought it was just a normal car accident, or maybe a group of mischievous young people setting fire to the car. But after extinguishing the fire, the firefighters were shocked to discover a charred body on the back seat of the car. The police were immediately dispatched to the scene to investigate the incident. Through initial examination, the police determined that the victim was a man. His right hand was still clutching a knife. His face was burned beyond recognition. A notable detail was that the car door was locked from the inside. Not far away, about 10 meters, the police discovered the body of a woman lying face down on the grass. The victim had many sharp knife wounds and burns from the fire. After the autopsy, forensic doctors concluded that the wounds on the female victim's body matched the knife that the man was holding in his hand. The identities of the two victims were quickly determined. The female victim was Nozomi Momoi, 24 years old, an adult film actress. The male victim was Hiroki Sakai, Nozomi's boyfriend. The burned car belonged to Hiroki. The investigation results showed that the car caught fire due to being splashed with kerosene. The incident occurred in a rather remote area, with no houses around. There were also many suspicious points about the way the car was parked. Although the road was quite narrow, the cars were parked neatly in a row, even leaving enough space for other vehicles to pass. At the scene, the police also found no signs of collision or sudden braking. Based on the clues collected, the police concluded that it was very likely that Hiroki, for some reason, drove his girlfriend Nozomi to the Nakagawa River, then murdered her and set himself on fire in the car to end it all. Hiroki had locked the car door from the inside. In addition, there were no signs of a fight or resistance inside the car. The police speculated that the motive for the crime may have come from Nozomi's work as an adult film actress, causing Hiroki to suffer and despair, leading to unresolved emotional conflicts. However, the autopsy results and subsequent investigation showed many suspicious and difficult-to-explain points. First, the amount of smoke in Nozomi and Hiroki's lungs was very small. Normally, victims who died in a fire would inhale a large amount of smoke. However, the autopsy results showed that the amount of smoke the two victims inhaled was only equivalent to smoking a cigarette. If we only consider the case of Nozomi, who was found outside the car, it could be explained. It is very possible that Nozomi was murdered by Hiroki first, and then he lit the fire in the car. However, this could not explain why the amount of smoke in Hiroki's lungs was so low. Second, due to the limitations of forensic conditions at that time, the doctors could not determine the exact cause of Hiroki's death. However, they discovered cracks and dents on his skull, proving that he had been attacked before he died. However, at the crime scene, the police did not find any signs that Hiroki and Nozomi had fought, and there was no bloody weapon around. Thirdly, the police did not find gasoline, the fuel that caused the fire. There was also no sign of a spilled gasoline can at the scene. The police speculated that the perpetrator might have used kerosene instead of gasoline because in Japan, most households use kerosene for heating in the winter, and Hiroki's house was no exception. At Hiroki's house, the police also found 4 spare kerosene cans, but none of them had been opened. Fourthly, Hiroki was left-handed, but when he was found, he was holding a knife in his right hand. According to Hiroki's mother's testimony, the knife was not a household item. Fifthly, Hiroki's car keys were missing. The car keys should have been found in the car or on Nozomi or Hiroki, but the police turned the crime scene upside down and still couldn't find them. In the end, both Nozomi and Hiroki were found without shoes. Their shoes were found at Hiroki's house, neatly placed, not looking like they had been left in a hurry. Were they forced or unconscious before leaving the house? The more the police investigated, the more confused they became when they discovered on Hiroki's computer the last photo of him and Nozomi taken on the afternoon of the incident. It was an affectionate photo. Both of them looked very happy and cheerful, with no signs of arguing or conflict. It seemed that their relationship was not as the police had initially suspected. Continuing to check the call history on Hiroki and Nozomi's phones, the police discovered that both of them had contacted friends that afternoon. After taking statements from these friends, the police did not find anything unusual. Both Nozomi and Hiroki talked to their friends very naturally, without showing any signs of anxiety or uneasiness. In particular, an hour before the incident, Hiroki had invited his friends to watch him perform at a music festival the next day because Hiroki was a singer in a band. All the evidence at this time contradicted the police's initial judgment. It was also not like Hiroki had planned it in advance, and it was not a spontaneous action. So, if it was not the two of them who led themselves to this end, then who did it to Nozomi and Hiroki? With these suspicions, the police began investigating Nozomi and Hiroki's background and relationship. Nozomi was born on October 12, 1978 in Ina City, Nakano Prefecture. When she was in school, Nozomi's academic results were only average. After graduating from high school, she moved to Tokyo to study at a college specializing in nutrition. In 1999, after graduating, she started working in a hospital kitchen as a nutrition coordinator. The hard work made her decide to quit after only 1 year. To make a living, Nozomi went to many places to find work. Fate brought her to wander around Shinjuku Station in Tokyo, and she met a man who said he was an actor recruiter. This man frankly said that he was recruiting adult film actors. At first, Nozomi firmly refused, but this man kept persuading her, drawing a bright future vision if she agreed. Because she was young and inexperienced, Nozomi was moved by his sweet words and decided to join the entertainment company. The company arranged for her to take advertising photos, orienting her towards a cute and innocent style. By April 2001, Nozomi officially debuted with her first film and unexpectedly created a big buzz. The success of the film brought her her first income, marking a major turning point in her life. From here, Nozomi devoted herself even more to her career. By the time she passed away in October 2002, she had participated in more than 200 films. The speed at which she released films made many colleagues admire her. Her reputation grew and her salary increased exponentially, reaching 1 million yen, about $8,330 per film. Realizing Nozomi's potential, the company not only focused on her acting in films, but also formed a girl group called Mix with Nozomi as the main member, debuting in May 2002. Nozomi's group not only participated in films, but also expanded into other entertainment activities such as TV game shows, singing, and releasing albums. Hiroki was 1 year older than Nozomi, and they were both from the same hometown and had attended the same high school. However, at that time, Hiroki and Nozomi did not know each other. After graduating from high school, Hiroki attended a vocational school in Nagoya. 2 years later, he returned to his hometown of Ina and worked as a worker in an electrical equipment factory. In May 2001, Hiroki met Nozomi by chance at a gathering of friends through a mutual classmate. They both liked each other from the first meeting. At the end of the meeting, Hiroki and Nozomi exchanged phone numbers and kept in touch. Not long after, they started dating. In July 2001, Hiroki proposed to Nozomi, but he wanted to keep their relationship as friends because Hiroki had a girlfriend at the time and even planned to get married after 3 years of dating. Of course, Nozomi was completely unaware of her existence. In August 2001, with the help of his friends, Hiroki left his hometown of Ina to go to Matsumoto City to do used car business. Using work as an excuse, Hiroki decided to break up with his girlfriend. Not long after, he officially started dating Nozomi. Despite having to live far apart due to the nature of their work, Nozomi and Hiroki have a very good relationship. She often takes the bus from Tokyo to Matsumoto, Nakano Prefecture, to visit her lover right after finishing work. However, Nozomi has a shocking secret that even Hiroki does not know. It turns out that in Tokyo, she has a boyfriend, and the two are living together. Nozomi's friends all know this, but because of the promise to keep her secret, no one says a word to Hiroki. As for Nozomi, she is always afraid that her boyfriend will find out about her two-timing, so she often asks her friends to help cover it up. The complicated relationship between the threesome and the stab wounds on Nozomi's body make the police suspect that Hiroki may have discovered the cruel truth, which leads to an argument between the two. And then, in a fit of anger, Hiroki forced Nozomi into the car, took her to a deserted place and attacked her. Combined with the evidence collected at the scene, such as the murder weapon and the suicide note, the local police still maintain the conclusion that this was a murder, and then did the same to themselves. However, Hiroki's parents did not agree with the police's conclusion. They believed that their son could not have done such a foolish thing. They believed that Hiroki was also murdered and asked the police to investigate clearly. On November 14, 2002, Hiroki's parents sent a letter to the police asking for clarification of the suspicious points mentioned earlier. However, it was not until a week after receiving the letter that the police officially announced that the case was still under investigation. On November 25th of the same year, Hiroki's parents continued to file an administrative complaint with the court, asking the police to establish an investigation team. Hiroki's friends also unanimously called on everyone to sign a petition with more than 10,000 signatures, hoping that the authorities would reinvestigate the case. Because Nozomi is a famous adult film actress, the case quickly attracted the attention of the media. Under pressure from public opinion, the police were forced to accept this request and continue investigating the case. Surprisingly, when conducting the investigation, the police discovered many more unusual details. Specifically, at Hiroki's home, the police found an IOU with an amount of 800,000 yen, about 6,670 USD. The loan date was April 2000, with a loan term of 5 months. The reason for borrowing money was to manage business capital. The lender was an unfamiliar name. Hiroki's family and friends did not know this person. After checking, the police could not find any information related to this name. However, they found that the handwriting on the promissory note was very similar to that of Hiroki's neighbor. According to the investigation, this neighbor and Hiroki used to be quite close drinking buddies. Although the handwriting was very similar, the neighbor's name did not match the name of the lender on the promissory note. Suspecting that the neighbor had impersonated someone else to write the promissory note, the police immediately invited this person to the police station to take a statement. Despite continuous pressure from the police, the neighbor firmly denied any knowledge of the promissory note. To prove his innocence, he stated that his intention to befriend Hiroki was not due to shared interests but rather to recruit Hiroki into an illegal multi-level marketing scheme to earn commission. Additionally, the neighbor provided an alibi. On the day of the incident, he had been out drinking with friends. Beyond revealing the multi-level marketing scheme, the neighbor also disclosed a shocking secret about Hiroki. It turned out that although he appeared to be a kind and gentle man who did honest business, Hiroki was actually a two-faced person. He secretly traded in illegal used cars. Due to business losses, Hiroki had to borrow money everywhere. Before he passed away, he owed a Brazilian man of Japanese origin 1,500,000 yen, about 12,500 US dollars. After hearing the testimony, the police began to rethink the matter related to the promissory note. They determined that if the neighbor had indeed lent Hiroki money, but had intentionally written another person's name on the promissory note, then this document would have no legal value. Therefore, it is very likely that the 800,000 yen debt has nothing to do with this neighbor. After the interrogation, the neighbor was eliminated as a suspect. Based on their analysis and judgment, the police came up with a new hypothesis. Was Hiroki killed by the creditor? Was it because he was unable to pay the money that the creditor got angry and killed him, and then Nozomi was there and got implicated? However, when checking Hiroki's relationships, the police could not find the mysterious creditor. Therefore, this hypothesis was quickly eliminated. Surprisingly, a new clue appeared from a bar employee familiar to Hiroki. According to the statement, A few days before the incident, Hiroki went to the bar alone. Here he met a special customer, someone who knew that Hiroki was dating the famous actress Nozomi. This customer kept following Hiroki, asking to be introduced because he was a crazy fan of Nozomi. He even made rude comments, wanting to spend the night with his girlfriend Nozomi. Hiroki was extremely angry when he heard that, and with the alcohol in his system, he got into a fight with the other customer and then left. The crazy man also confessed that after that day, he repeatedly harassed and threatened Hiroki, even calling to threaten to kill Hiroki if he did not agree to let him spend the night with Nozomi. From this detail, the police suspected that the other man had attacked Nozomi and Hiroki because of his blind and selfish love. However, the suspect denied all accusations. He confessed that he only acted thoughtlessly because he idolized Nozomi too much, but he had no intention and was not capable of killing anyone. The investigation later also showed that this man had a clear alibi. At this point, all the police's efforts had come to a dead end. The case seemed to be at a standstill. However, not long after, a new clue was revealed. The police discovered that Nozomi had participated in more than 200 films within just 1 year of entering the adult film industry. This huge amount of work surprised everyone. Although the outside information said that she was paid 1 million yen per movie, in reality, this number was much lower. Since most of the movies had to be co-starred with other actresses, the amount of money Nozomi received was much less than the effort she put in. After that, Nozomi joined a girl group. Her tight work schedule left her with no time to rest. The huge amount of work was beyond her endurance. Although she already had a boyfriend in Tokyo, Nozomi had deep feelings for Hiroki. She wanted to give up her adult film career, switch to being a theater actress, and then marry Hiroki. However, the adult film industry, once you get into it, it's easy to get out but difficult in many ways. Moreover, at that time, Nozomi was the company's golden goose. No company would easily let go of such a money-making machine. So, is it possible that Nozomi wanted to leave the company but was prevented, forcing Hiroki to stand up for his girlfriend? Or did the two of them have a conflict with the company and end up being killed? Although Hiroki's family brought this hypothesis to the police, the authorities once again dismissed it. The case gradually faded into oblivion. In the end, the Japanese police maintained their original conclusion. Hiroki's parents were forced to accept this conclusion in helplessness and grief. A year later, Hiroki's parents discovered that he had purchased a life insurance policy before his death. Hiroki's mother brought the insurance documents to the company to request compensation, but was denied because the contract contained a clause excluding insurance payments if the insured committed suicide. Unwilling to accept this, Hiroki's parents sued the insurance company in civil court. On January 23, 2007, the Nakano District Court made its final decision. Based on the suspicions provided by Hiroki's parents, the court concluded that Hiroki had been murdered. His family received 35 million yen, about 291,670 USD, in compensation from the insurance company. Hiroki's case became the first in Japan to be ruled a homicide by a civil court, but the investigation was closed with the conclusion that the victim had taken his own life. And to this day, this paradox still exists, meaning that this mysterious murder remains unsolved. Over the years, Hiroki's parents and friends have continued to seek justice for him. Meanwhile, Nozomi's family has seemingly disappeared, perhaps because of social stigma against their daughter's profession. 22 years after Nozomi's mysterious case, tragedy has once again repeated itself with another prostitute in the land of the rising sun. But this time, her passing was many times more painful. On May 8, 2024, Shinjuku police in Tokyo, Japan received a report from a resident of a high-rise building in Nishi Shinjuku about a female assault. The police immediately arrived at the scene and discovered the victim collapsed in the lobby area on the first floor of the building in an extremely tragic state. There were many fatal wounds to her head and abdomen, and the murder weapon was 2 fruit knives, each about 4 inches long. Very quickly, the police identified the victim as Toshino Hirasawa, 25 years old, a hostess at a bar and a resident of this building. Although Toshino was rushed to the emergency room, he died from his injuries, and the victim's boyfriend, Manabu Wakui, was the one who did it. He did not flee, but stayed at the scene with the curious crowd waiting for the police to arrive. According to witnesses, they heard Toshino screaming for help. "Help me! Call an ambulance." And Manabu shouted, "I'm not the one stalking her!" He shouted and brutally attacked Toshino. When the ambulance left, Manabu's rage gradually subsided. During the interrogation with the police, he did not beat around the bush and frankly admitted everything. Manabu's motive for the crime was surprisingly simple. He just wanted to get back the money he lent Toshino. He even coldly admitted that he had acted cruelly because he wanted Toshino to pay for what she had done. Hearing this, many people may think that this is just a normal murder case stemming from a love conflict. But is the truth that simple? To better understand this tragedy, let's learn about the past and relationship of the two main characters. Manabu is 51 years old, born into an ordinary family. He used to work at a shipping company, then switched to delivery. Manabu has had a strong passion for cars since he was a child. He dreamed of becoming a professional racer and has collected several luxury cars. However, Manabu's circumstances are not well off. He only lives with his parents in an ordinary residential area in Tokyo. At the age of 25, Toshino has built a rather luxurious life with a high-class apartment in the bustling Shinjuku area. This young girl from Nihama City, Ehime Prefecture, used to work at famous nightclubs such as Kim Ga and Victoria Club. With her natural beauty and charm, she quickly became famous in the industry and was known as the beauty queen of the clubs. Not stopping there, Toshino also promoted to become the owner of her own club. The love story between Toshino and Manabu began and ended like a passing wind, leaving many lingering feelings for 4 years. Fate brought them together again at a performance of a Korean girl group when they accidentally sat next to each other. Sharing the same passion for this group, they quickly found common ground and exchanged phone numbers, promising to attend the next performances together. From then on, their lives seemed to be more closely connected. Phone conversations and meetings took place frequently. Manabu even used his beloved cars, a bright red sports car and a luxury large displacement motorcycle, to pick up and drop off Toshino, as if to show his special feelings for her. Over time, Manabu's love for Toshino grew deeper to the point that he wanted to marry her. Manabu also became a regular at Toshino's bar, as if he wanted to spend all his free time with the girl he loved. Meanwhile, Toshino began to harbor bigger ambitions for her life. No longer wanting to be an ordinary waitress, at the age of 21, she decided to open her own bar, a field in which she had accumulated a lot of experience. With great determination, Toshino poured all her heart into decorating the bar, building a brand and attracting customers, hoping to build a solid career. But fate was cruel. The pandemic suddenly struck like a fatal blow to the entertainment industry. Restrictions on gatherings and entertainment were applied, causing the number of customers coming to the bar to decrease day by day. Although Toshino tried her best to maintain operations, all efforts seemed to be in vain in the face of the gloomy business situation. After half a year of persistent struggle, she was forced to make the heartbreaking decision to close the bar. For an inexperienced young girl, this was not only a mental shock from losing a stable source of income, but also a huge financial burden from debts left behind by a failed business. However, Toshino was not willing to fail. She wanted to open a new bar that was more magnificent and luxurious than before. However, after the recent failure, where would Toshino get the capital to start a business again? She really needed money. So Toshino asked Manabu, a passionate man who was always willing to give her the best things. Toshino knew that Manabu loved her deeply and even wanted to marry her. So Toshino used this weapon of love to ask for a large loan from Manabu with the condition, only when he was able to take care of her financially would Toshino agree to be his wife. Manabu completely trusted Toshino. He was immersed in the joy of getting married, constantly boasting to his relatives and friends about this happiness, and even publicly declared that he would soon marry Toshino. However, this love affair with a difference in age and status made everyone around him feel confused. Why would a young, successful girl with a luxurious life choose to love a man 26 years older than her and with such poor economic conditions. Manabu's father was also very worried about his son. He clearly saw the difference in this relationship and its potential risks, so he repeatedly advised Manabu to think carefully and not to be fooled by such sweet words. Love made Manabu lose his mind. In his eyes, Toshino was the destiny of his life, the only woman he wanted to be with for the rest of his life. To prove this deep love, Manabu decided to sacrifice his most precious things, his close friends made of iron and steel who had accompanied him for many years. In November 2021, Manabu posted an ad for the sale of his bright red Honda NR 750, his companion who had been with him for 16 years. This car was a regular feature in his social media posts, an indispensable part of his life. Not stopping there, the following month, Manabu made an even more heartbreaking decision, selling his Honda NSX, his companion for 25 years. This was no ordinary car, but a limited edition from 1990, one of only 500 produced and long since discontinued. The car was listed for sale at 10 million yen, about $76,920, a considerable sum, but for Manabu nothing could compare to his love for Toshino. On the used car market, both of these cars were treasures for car lovers. Manabu could have sold them for a higher price, but because of the urgency, he was forced to sell them at a low price. In the end, Manabu earned about 10 million yen from selling the car, and he transferred all the money to Toshino so that she could open a new bar. On the opening day of the bar, Manabu also sent a bouquet of fresh flowers to congratulate her. From then on, his means of transportation was no longer a luxury sports car, but only a small white car, the same car he used on the day of the crime. When the new bar opened, Toshino's business grew more and more prosperous. Along with that, her attitude towards Manabu also gradually changed. Meetings and phone calls became less and less frequent. Manabu realized his lover's coldness, but still naively thought that perhaps it was because he had not provided enough money that Toshino was angry and distant. However, for an ordinary delivery man like Manabu, the two beloved cars were all the assets he had saved up in his life. Now that he had sold everything to Toshino, what was left for him to continue to satisfy her demands? In desperation, Manabu had to borrow a few million yen from a loan shark to fulfill his proposal. But painfully, after receiving the money, Toshino coldly refused. It was at this moment, as if waking up from a dream, that Manabu realized he had fallen into a love trap. Toshino was nothing more than a clever gold digger who used the promise of marriage to trick him out of his money. Manabu's pain and anger grew more and more. While he had to live a miserable life, sell his closest friends, and even borrow money from a loan shark, Toshino used that money to open a restaurant, rent a luxury apartment for 500,000 yen, about 3,850 USD a month, and enjoy a life of luxury. After careful calculation, Manabu realized that he had given Toshino a total of 18 million yen, about 138,460 US dollars. With the mentality of someone who had lost everything, he thought that asking for 10 million yen back was a reasonable request. However, Manabu's path to debt collection turned into a series of desperate actions. Initially, he went to Toshino's bar, causing trouble and demanding money. But Toshino showed no fear. Instead, she immediately called security to kick him out. When this tactic failed, Manabu switched to standing in front of the bar to put pressure. In response, Toshino immediately asked for police intervention. The situation escalated. In December 2021, Toshino reported being stalked. In March 2022, when Manabu recklessly barged into the bar to collect the debt, the police were forced to issue a warning and a restraining order. In April, Toshino continued to report Manabu's stalking and harassment. In May, after receiving a written warning, Manabu did not stop and was eventually arrested for violating the anti-stalking law. In June 2022, the situation became so serious that the police had to issue a restraining order and monitor Manabu monthly. Surprisingly, Manabu did not commit any violations during this time. By July 2023, when the restraining order expired, Toshino agreed to lift the restraining order, perhaps thinking that everything was over. Although things seemed to have calmed down, Manabu could not calm down. He was determined to get back the 10 million yen and went to the police to report Toshino. In her statement, Manabu said that in 2021, Toshino's bar was losing money, forcing her to close. To help her open a new bar, he sold his car, collected 10 million yen, and gave it to Toshino in the hope of getting it back. But Toshino claimed that the money was a deposit so that Manabu could drink for free at the bar, not a loan. The police concluded that there was not enough evidence to prove that Toshino was a fraud, so they could not open an investigation. Realizing that he was not protected by the law, Manabu held a grudge and decided to take revenge on Toshino for defrauding him of both his feelings and money. A year later, on May 7, 2024, Manabu received a delivery order and drove to Toshino's luxury apartment in Shinjuku. He lurked in front of her house, waiting for an opportunity to strike. During that time, Manabu became more and more angry. He believed that he was the victim, falsely accused of being a harasser, while Toshino continued to live lavishly with his money. At 3 a.m. on May 8th, when Toshino appeared, Manabu immediately rushed over, using the knife he was carrying to repeatedly attack her, causing her to die on the spot. With this action, Manabu will certainly face a heavy prison sentence. The two stories are 22 years apart but have many haunting similarities. Both revolve around young women in Japan's adult entertainment industry, and both end in bloody tragedy. Nozomi Momoi, with her dream of escaping the adult film industry to start a new life with her lover, and Toshino, with her desire to build her own career. They are both young women with ambitions and desires to change their lives. However, their fates are tied to tragic men. Hiroki Sakai, whose death remains a mystery, and Manabu Wakui, who let hatred swallow his reason. One died in doubt, the other paid for his crazy actions by spending the rest of his life in prison. These two cases not only expose the dark side of the adult entertainment industry in Japan, but also serve as a profound warning about relationships built on lies and exploitation. They show the thin line between love and hatred, between reason and madness in unbalanced relationships. And perhaps the most profound lesson from these two cases is, no matter how developed society is, no matter how perfect the law is, people working in this special industry always have to face potential risks and dangers. Behind the bright stage lights and luxurious life are tragic hidden corners, unfortunate fates that will probably continue in the future if there are no fundamental changes from both social and legal perspectives, and those are the two cases of today. What do you think about these two cases? Please share in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on other exciting cases. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.